to the Journeyman Sports Podcast. It's been a little bit, but Cade and I have both been pretty busy, just everything outside of this. But today, wanted to talk about IU men's basketball. They are 3-0 to start the year, but as anyone who's a fan or has watched is aware, it's not looking great up to this point. But in a sense, I think um, like a lot of fans kind of expected a slow start, but maybe not this slow of a start. A tight win over Florida Gulf Coast, 69-63, a 72-64 win over Army, and a 9-point win last night against Wright State. IU has not looked amazing. I think um, to start off, I think the biggest issue has got to be on the defensive end. Uh, IU just does not, they don't guard. I think this was a big strength of the team last year. You could say it was definitely defensively, but with all the people that IU got this year, especially with Xavier Johnson coming back, still have Trey Galloway. I figured, especially the backcourt would be one of the better defensive duos in the Big Ten and maybe even in all of college basketball. But up to this point, that has not been the case, and I mean, just some really, really bad stuff that's been going on, just leaving people wide open. The amount of threes, wide open threes, specifically that IU has given up this year, just is kind of confusing to me. I don't know if it's execution and game plan is just not matching up, but I've seen several times where in pick and roll actions or even just screening actions, IU will have two players covering one, which clearly leaves the one person wide open. And the guys that they've been playing against, even on teams that are not very good, are drilling all the threes. I think I even saw a stat that IU's been outscored like 100-33 on 3-pointers this year, which is crazy to think about. Can't imagine how bad that could be if IU were playing some of the better teams or even just some of the teams in the Big Ten as a whole. But Mackenzie Mbako, especially, 5-star freshman, really highly touted recruit. He's been suspect to start the year. I think some of this is to be kind of expected. He's a freshman, but the defense, like, he's not playing in the crucial stretches of these games, which he's far too talented to not be playing in. But it is of his own doing. He's not covering on defense. He's leaving guys wide open, and he just seems to be a little bit lost as a whole. I think that if he wants to continue to get the minutes, I feel like he should get, and he's more than talented enough to get. That's gonna be something I feel like it's on him a little bit. I don't know if it's an effort thing or if he just genuinely is lost, but the defense as a whole has got to pick up for IU, and I think that kind of leads me into talking about some of the offensive struggles as well. A team like IU, especially with their starters, with Xavier Johnson, Trey Galloway, Mackenzie Mbako, Renew, and Khalil Ware, I think this should be a team that runs in transition all the time, as much as possible. Obviously, that starts with defense, and IU's pace is 271st in college basketball right now, and I don't think they need to be first by any means, but I think this is a team that should be able to run. There are a lot of very good athletes on this team, and I think all of them as well are more than capable on the defensive end. But that's where it's got to start. The rebounds and then pushing in transition is something I'd really like to see IU do more of, and that starts by forcing missed shots. But on the offensive end, I think IU's got to start running plays for people. You know, you got to run plays for Khalil Ware. You got to run plays, I think, for Mbako too, especially to get his shot going, which will be a good thing if he's not as great on the defensive end. That offensive game can make up for some of it. Um, but I don't like all the. It seems like a lot of ISOs and just a lot of we're gonna 3-man weave up at the 3-point line for 10 or 15 seconds, which accomplishes really not a lot. and then we're gonna go into ISO whoever and feed it down to the post and hope that works. Like when they play UConn on Sunday, if they want Khalil Ware to have a 20-point game, they're going to have to run sets for him. They're going to be going up against a team that can handle the talent that IU does have, and you could argue is more talented, however you want to argue that. But if IU wants these guys to continue to put up the numbers that they are, they need to run sets for them. And I think that's going to help unlock this offense a lot. And Trey Galloway, in my opinion, who he's had a fine start to the year, he's not played horrible, but I feel like he needs to be more aggressive in the offense. I don't think he needs to be the focal point by any means, but I'd really like to see him initiate more of the offense. I think X has done fine this year, but I think using Galloway more is just going to help X because I think Xavier Johnson is just being asked to do more than he's capable of at this current moment. But I really would like to see Galloway get aggressive on offense. I feel like in the short spurts where he has done that, those have been some of the better runs they've had in these games early on this year. And IU also just needs to shoot more threes. Like that kind of runs back in with the running offensive sets, not just doing ISOs. And I think feeding the post has been valuable, obviously, against these undersized teams. Nobody in the 3 games they've played has been able to stop Khalil Ware or Malik Renew. But when you play like a team like UConn on Sunday, they are going to be able to match that on the defensive end. And I don't know how big of a factor Renew and Ware will really be in that game if they're just getting the ball and then expected to do everything on their own. IU needs to run more sets, get shooters open. Galloway and Mbako are more than capable shooters. I think even off the bench, a guy like CJ Gunn is capable. I mean, the second unit has been solid, I think, especially from a defensive perspective. The offense on the second unit is really questionable to me. Um, but there's a lot of question marks right now around IU, and I'm not one of those people that is pressing the panic button just yet necessarily. I think obviously they've left a lot to be desired up to this point, and I don't think IU's played anywhere near what they're capable of, but I think they have shown flashes so far of what they are, what their potential could be. They've gone on big runs, I believe, in each of the 3 games, which yes, it is against superior or inferior talent and inferior teams, but I think it's there. I think it's going to really take until mid to late December for it to click for IU, but I still do believe they have all the talent in the world. I think this is still a team that can finish top 5 in the Big Ten. It's going to take some work, but I do think it's there. Um, there's a lot of a lot of negativity going around right now about this IU team. I've seen countless amounts of people saying they're done for the year. They have no chance making the tournament. The season's over, and it's 3 games in, and it's November 17th, which I think is a little bit ridiculous and premature. Obviously, like we've talked about throughout this, it hasn't looked great. There's a lot of work to do, but I know that it's in there. Like I think this is still a very talented team. I think they just need to work, especially on the defensive end. And I think once or if they can figure out what they're doing on defense, I think it really opens up the whole team. I think at times when IU last year, when they were at their best, it was the defense into that transition game. You have bigs that can run the floor, which is a weapon that I feel like could be the strength of this team with Renew and Ware. That's a really good combination. We've seen some of the high-low stuff so far this year. I think Malik Renew is much, much improved from last year. He seems more confident. Seems like the game has slowed down a little bit for him. And we'll see going on throughout the season what that continues to look like. But I'm still very optimistic about this team. I think there's a ton of potential. think this is still a tournament team. This is still a team that can compete in the Big Ten. And I'm not ready to press the panic button yet. I am a little bit worried and concerned, but this is a little bit of what I had expected coming into the year. I figured it would be a slow start, and I'm not really expecting this to look good or like what I think it could look like until, like I mentioned, mid or late December, I think is when this team could start to click. But there is a lot of work to do in the interim. But I think if they start to do some of the things I mentioned, and I'm no basketball aficionado, I'm not claiming to be, but I think some of those little things can really just start to open up the game for this team. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Am I crazy for thinking there's still hope for this team, or what you guys think the expectations even could be as well? So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.